Hey everybody, welcome to the PC Perspective Podcast. This is episode 340 being recorded on March 11th, 2015. I'm Ryan Shrout.
I'm Jeremy Hellstrom.
I'm Josh Walrath.
And I'm Alan Mamatana.
If you would like to join us live, we record the show every Wednesday at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. We have for many years recorded at 10 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday.
Yep.
And you can find us at pcper.com/live. And if you ever forget about that, and you want to make sure you get a little reminder every once in a while, if you go to pcper.com/subscribe, we get you to this email list. All we ask is for your name and that email address, and we sign you up for a mailing list. Literally all we use it for is letting you know when we're about to do live fun things. Sometimes it's our podcast. Most of the time it's our podcast. We do other live streams, and we do big product launches. We have guests in the studio doing Q&A or giving away stuff.
No spam.
No spam. I won't let Josh I don't give Josh access to it,
yeah.
So it'll help us out quite a bit
Much
in that regard.
access.
Yeah, it doesn't have much access. And as it turns out, if you were here for the live pre-show part, you'll recognize that there's some other guy on the show as well. This is Paul from Paul's Hardware, cleverly named.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, it took me a while. Like I did some testing before I went with that name, but yeah.
You did focus testing, right? You wanted a little feedback.
Focus groups.
What do you think this site is about, and who do you think it's run by? Just spitballing here.
I wanted to be straightforward and yet slightly mysterious, so I think I succeeded.
So for people that are maybe new to you, tell me what you do now, what you used to do, where you came from, that kind of crap in a semi-succinct fashion, I guess.
Sure. I started out doing like YouTube and more widely based, I guess, internet things about technology when I worked for Newegg, which I did for a few years. So I did the Newegg TV YouTube channel.
Right.
More recently, I have branched out on my own. So I'm still doing a little bit of work with Newegg, but for the most part, I have my own YouTube channel that I run now. It's also called Paul's Hardware, surprise enough. And I make videos about technology, hardware, PCs, building stuff, as you might see by all the hardware right here behind me. And it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah,
it's been quite enjoyable.
Congratulations and good luck for branching out on your own.
Thank you.
It's definitely a scary thing to do. So we're glad to have you on. Anybody who's watching this show or listening to it, you can go to paulshardware.net. Is it just youtube.com/paulshardware?
Yes, that is correct.
That'll work, and you can get to all his stuff there. So welcome to the show. We're just going to have Paul on as a guest, and he's going to randomly talk about crap with us as well. Actually, and before we move on to kind of like the reviews and news from the week, I do want to point out here, we got, so we talked about the Intel NUC and how you could replace the lid on it. And I was like, but nobody's ever going to do that. Who has 3D printers sitting around? Well, a reader of ours, Matt Carney, who you can actually find at matt-carney.com. He's actually still in school, but he printed us, it's maybe hard to show on the video, but he printed us a lid for our NUC.
It's 3D, it's raised letters and everything.
Yeah, so you can kind of see there with the PC Perspective logo on it, and then he painted it for us. So now, I don't want to say we have the world's first custom NUC lid in
got one of the first
environment, but it's got to be one of the early ones, and it's really cool. I think it turned out pretty well, actually.
Yeah.
And now I have to put
snazzy.
the device into production so we can continue to use and display this lid. But it's an interesting idea, right? So it's like you could, if you're only for personalization purposes,
maybe it'll become the new file server.
You can do that. It could become the new file server.
It could become the new file server.
You never know.
Yeah.
You never know. So thank you, Matt, for that. We really appreciate it.
So I do have a question for Jeremy first. So Jeremy, when we get to episode 365, what number are you actually going to number it?
Wait, what?
Are you suggesting we do episodes?
No, Office 365.
Oh, well. It's a brand new
Ryan
year.
will say, hey,
They're
episode
still at Office
365, and you'll scream, no, it's 355.
Yeah.
Actually, it'll just decline slowly over the course of the show. I'll just keep referring back to it because we just had a straight week of issues with it.
So it's good, Josh, that you've prepared everybody for this joke that will occur literally in like almost 6 months.
Yeah.
this joke that will occur.
You got to talk about it when you can. Otherwise, I'll just forget it.
It's the longest wait for a punchline ever.
I may actually be a dad by the time that
this
occurs.
That's true.
Right?
It's possible.
It could be on the 365th episode where I say, sorry,
that
hon,
seems unlikely.
Sorry about being at the hospital.
350-something episode.
Yeah, okay, so we'll revert back.
Ryan will be gone.
We won't lose any of it.
It'll be downtime.
Yeah.
And then it'll revert back a day,
Let's talk about a couple of reviews and whatnot. We're not going to touch on everything. We're going to run through some other things. And then there's some other stuff that happened we didn't actually have stories on yet that I want to make sure we talk about, including the Titan X with there may or may not be a box sitting in front of us. It looks a little bit dark. I think maybe...
Oh, yeah.
No, we can see
you
it.
go.
Right
Stop.
Right
there.
Yeah, that's
there
good.
may or may not be one in there. Actually, if you follow me on Twitter... or if you go to facebook.com/PCPer, you'll see some some pictures I took of the Titan X. Everybody on Twitter is posting pictures about their Titan X's they were getting. So I put one.
And in 5 minutes, Jeremy's going to say, hey, is that a Titan IX in front of you?
Yeah.
Then a couple of minutes more, it's going to be an IIX.
Lowering the numbers again.
I'm just realizing it, but that box is reminding me of the old OS 10 boxes.
We'll just leave that light.
Yeah, it does kind of resemble that, especially with that
Alan, turn the light off.
right there.
That's awesome.
No, it looks
with the light
stupid.
right there, it looks a lot like the OS 10 thing.
I'm
or
just
as I like
wondering if
to
that one
incorrectly
box
say,
is worth
OS X.
as much as Paul's entire stack of boxes is.
Yeah, when you look at the background of his video, I do feel a little like maybe we did something wrong. Like we've got this like fancy, I don't know, design with a TV.
Yeah. Think of how many stacks of video card boxes you've thrown in dumpsters over the years.
Oh, man, it's a lot.
We've got videos of it.
Yeah, we have videos of me carrying stacks of video card boxes, presumably all empty ones.
Yeah, hopefully.
But just giant to the dumpster.
I do go through periodically, and I kind of clear out the boxes. I get rid of the older ones, but I might be ditching the random pile soon and actually installing shelves. I don't know. I'm still on the fence about it, but I don't know. I've grown attached to the pile of boxes, though.
No, I understand that completely, right? So we have this very clean set design here. I'm very proud of it. We think it turned out great.
Yeah.
But we are actually in the middle of developing the second side set over here, which will kind of purposely be more cluttered. Right, this is where we put our Star Wars read-along records, for example, or our Mickey Mouse R2-D2 ears. Mm-hmm. Right, those types of,
or my Magic Wand collection,
or Josh's Magic Wand,
or the wooden router assembly.
Oh man, yeah, it will only be better from here, guys. So let's talk about real quick. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. I did post a review of the Samsung Galaxy Note 4, which is a smartphone. Not a dumb phone. It's a large smartphone.
That's true.
It is essentially the same size as an iPhone 6 Plus. It is kind of the Samsung Note series is kind of the progenitor, if you will, of the phablet craze.
Yep.
That I hate that word. I hate it. I hate that word with a passion. I don't know if you call it a phone.
You're supposed to.
I guess. Do you call it a phone or a tablet?
It's
just a phone, right?
It's a phone.
At what point does it cross over to a tablet? When it doesn't have like cellular, like phone capability?
Right.
Yeah. Correct.
No? What's the answer?
Because they ship tablets with cellular connectivity.
Yeah, but cellular connectivity, but not
phablet.
like a phone. Does it have an earpiece and a microphone that you hold up to your face?
Holding an iPad.
Right. So if you hold an iPad Mini is probably not that far.
That's true.
There was that weird Dell Streak 5
yes.
when 5 inches was unheard of for a phone, and I don't think it had like call capability in it because it was so big, but it was.
Wasn't that one where you had to use like a headset?
Yeah,
right?
I think so.
Like you had to use a headset or a Bluetooth headset or something.
Well, the headset's the only thing that's going to make you look more idiotic than a guy using an N gauge. Holding a phablet up to the side of your head.
Taco talk.
So the Note 4 is kind of the latest iteration, came out last September, I believe. What's interesting about it is that from a hardware perspective, there are multiple iterations of this. There's one, the one we got was actually an unlocked international version that BH Photo sent to us for review. It has the Samsung Exynos 5433 SoC, which is a quad-core A57 plus quad-core A53 big little combination. The one that they actually sell in the US in North America and Canada, I guess I should say, as well, it has a Samsung Snapdragon. It has a Qualcomm Snapdragon 805 SoC in it. A totally different processor configuration. It's got a quad-core Crate processor, and it uses Adreno 420 graphics, and this uses Mali 760, right? Like it's completely different from that standpoint. But it's still got a 2560 by 1440 Super AMOLED 5.7-inch screen, which is really, 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 really awesome. It has this fancy S Pen or a stylus, but if you're Samsung, you call it an S Pen because it's a Pen. Yeah. The screen is awesome. Like, again, the 25 by 14 resolution screens are amazing. It has this capability to kind of like shrink down if your thumb. Well, nobody's thumb is big enough to get all the way across this display. Yeah. So, I actually came away really, really liking it. I had never used a phone this big, right? I had never, like, this is, what is this, 5.2 inches maybe, so, yeah. or 5 even. This is the Droid Turbo. Mm-hmm. And even it, like, you can't get to the top corner of it.
Yeah.
It's not really a one-handed device, I'm sorry to say, Josh.
Well, you're talking big and putting things up to your face and a one-handed device. I'm confused.
You're not really
Come on, boys. Size doesn't matter.
You're not really confused. But I found it incredibly useful in carrying it around, like in terms of like just reading or browsing the web. Ken thinks it's crazy, but I like the capability to do split screen mode, which is a Samsung TouchWiz feature. It's not really an Android feature, but like you could have a YouTube video playing on one half of the screen while you read your email and reply to email and stuff on the other half of the screen. Is that something that you're going to do very often? Probably not. And it's going to use a lot of battery, obviously, when you do that type of thing. But if you say you have a 45-minute commute on a bus or something like that to work or on a train, you could do that. Watch a video or watch a YouTube clip on one side while you read your email or check Twitter on the other side or whatever. It's just this kind of basic multitasking that is more useful the bigger the screen gets.
It seemed more that in particular on that phone seemed to, not that phone, but the Note 4 seemed to be make more sense if the phone was in portrait and the video was landscape. That way you can kind of like, it's not taking up so much.
Yeah, and you can adjust. Screen. It doesn't have to be a 50-50 split. You can adjust
you can drag
it.
Yeah, imagine the video. Cool. Imagine a video in landscape on whatever your phone is, just when it's in portrait mode, right? Landscape video doesn't take up that much of the screen space, so you just kind of push it up out of the way, and then you can scroll through stuff.
I think I got a screenshot here. Here's a screenshot of it, Ken, that I took. So you can hear, like, I'm tracking the status of an obviously very important thing coming from BH Photo in my email here. Then I'm browsing an equally important Gigabyte Bricks S review on PCPro.com. Like clearly these are important things. The camera on it is also really good. It was the closest I have seen to a camera that will match the image quality of an iPhone.
Yeah.
Right. It's not quite there.
Isn't it the same actual? Oh wait, no, the megapixel number.
Yeah, because like the iPhone 6 is only 8 megapixel.
I think so.
And this is 16, or the Note 4 is 16. But it's not always about count; it's about quality, right? And so if you go to the website, you can actually see some side by sides. We got the Note 4 on the left here, and the iPhone 6 on the right, and you can kind of swing back and forth. It'll be hard to tell on the YouTube video, but these are actually relatively close. There's a little bit of kind of exposure difference, I guess, but in terms of image quality, it's not too bad. But like if you look at the Note 4 versus the Droid Turbo, what's interesting about this is the Droid Turbo has a 21 megapixel 21 megapixel sensor on it. But clearly, like if you look at the black of this table, it's way more pixelated and kind of...
It's just noise.
Yeah, it's noisy there. So the camera is nice. There's examples of that in there. GPU performance, CPU performance, they're okay. It doesn't blow everything out of the water. CPU performance is very good. GPU performance is lower than expected compared to what the Snapdragon 805 provides, and we were able to have that from... our Nexus 6, and this actually uses a Snapdragon 805. And then maybe the most interesting feature, it's not really a feature of the phone, but the capability is to use this. This is a Samsung Gear VR, which you snap the Note 4 into, and then you get a wireless 3D VR configuration there. And it's built by Oculus, designed by Oculus, built by Samsung, I guess. And you know what? It worked surprisingly well. I think the graphics were probably a little bit underperforming for what it was. Yeah, but I mean, like, I think the Snapdragon 805 would do better in that regard than the Exynos 5430. But it works surprisingly well. There was a game, what the hell was it called? I don't know. There's some horror game where you're kind of walking through the halls, and It's very spooky. You put on headphones. It's very easy to see how you would get caught up in it and literally get very, very frightened playing this game, which is kind of the point. And it has like some mechanics where if you look down, it brings up like your map, your mini map. So it kind of knows when you look down, it kind of brings up. And as you look up, it kind of fades away, which is also interesting because in one instance, when you look down, look at the map, it kind of like you can't see anything else. And when you look up, there was like something new there, right? Like they very clearly did that. And I would say you even look pretty cool wearing this. Wouldn't you guys agree?
Well, actually, it just looks like you're a nerd. Like without the phone in front of it.
Especially without the phone on there.
It's like, man, your eyesight sucks. Because Ryan just looking at me, you can't see it on the camera, but Ryan looking at me blinked once while he was looking at me. And it was just like this huge whoosh of like... his eyes get so big.
That's a $199 add-on to it, which I wouldn't buy a Note 4 for that, but if you have a Note 4, it's kind of interesting to just look at. So, Paul, do you have any experience with a Note 4 or a phone like that size? Have you used any of those?
I have an Nexus 6, so yeah.
So large.
I have a large phone. This is the largest phone I've ever used. I have larger hands, so it's okay for me. I've actually been pretty happy with this phone. I've heard different, a lot of mixed reviews on it. Some people have really liked it. Some people have really hated it.
Right.
But yeah, I think especially if you do a lot of video watching, video playback, I've actually been streaming Twitch and other stuff like that on here from time to time.
Okay.
And the multimedia experience on a larger size screen, I think, is really pretty cool, but I think it's definitely a limiting factor if you have smaller hands. I don't
consider myself to have small hands, but even then,
don't small hands make your phone look bigger?
Yeah, that's what they tell me. That's what they tell me.
That is a theory.
But I guess I don't consider myself to have small hands, but I still thought the Note 4 was not really a one-handed use device.
Right.
Even kind of when you did that thing where you could kind of swipe to the side. What is it on iPhone? It's like double tap the home button.
Double tap.
And it kind of shrinks things down. It has that same option.
It scoots it out and down,
So water mode?
Yeah. I think it's something you should probably try for a little bit. What do carriers here have, like a 14-day return policy for phones? Is that what it is?
I think
you could probably figure out if that's something you want to do in the span of 14 days. But if you're interested in my thoughts, go to the review. It's on PCPro.com. Check it out. Let me know your thoughts are.
I do have one question.
Yeah, feel free.
When do you think they're going to put a mechanical keyboard on it?
I am looking forward to that. Yeah, it's like BlackBerry Plus at that point, right?
Yeah. You want Cherry MX what in that?
Probably brown.
Browns. Okay.
Yeah.
When I'm at a bus, I want people to hear me clicking.
Just turn up the sound effect. That's what they should do. They should have a plug-in keyboard, like a plug-in, an app that you install that's a special keyboard that makes the Cherry sounds.
The IBM keyboard sound.
But it makes, it just jacks up the volume on your speaker.
Now, wasn't it some insane movie star that wrote the app for that to make it sound like an old style...
Tom Hanks. The Hanks writer.
It makes you sound like a typewriter.
Yeah. It's like, and not only just the sound, but the look of it, too. Like, you actually see the arms coming up.
Whatever.
It's a popular app, too. That's what's funny.
Well, that's because Tom Hanks wrote it.
Well,
I don't know if that's true. Yeah. Another review we wrote up, or Maury wrote up, rather, I should say, is the ASUS X99A motherboard, which is actually their entry-level board into the X99 platform, which actually is not that entry-level, right? Like, you still got tons of PCI Express connectivity, lots of SATA, SATA Express, I believe. You got the giant-ass processor socket, of course, 8 DIMM slots, 6 USB 3.0, Intel Gigabit LAN. You've got everything. Like, ASUS doesn't want to hear this, but this has pretty much got everything you need.
Yep.
Right?
Except Server 2012 R2 drivers.
Oh,
What?
did they do that?
Oh.
What's that mean?
The NIC. Same problem I ran into the other day. The NIC drivers, you can't.
Well, there's a way to force it.
So you can't install the entry-level X99 board with Server 2012 drivers?
Intel specifically omits... I know it's ridiculous. They omit that particular NIC to have a Server R2 driver capability. Like, they omit it from their driver package.
It's
they have to go in and modify it.
They say it doesn't work, so they didn't qualify it.
It's the same It's the same hardware.
Same chip
It's
as
the same chip.
Buy a
Y.
server class
I can't
motherboard for
remember.
$255.
They literally put an L at the end of the number. It's the same physical chip. It's just ridiculous. Anyway.
Maury really liked this board, and it kind of surprised him because, again, you get the moniker of being an entry-level product, and sometimes you don't know exactly what you're going to get. But with all of this, ASUS, and we saw this when ASUS launched their Z87 line, when they launched their Z97 line. Like, they kind of made every board from entry-level to the flagship, like, really nice, like, really impressive. Mm-hmm. And the only things that change as you go up are these kind of very specific things that you either will want or will not want in there. Like, this is a Thunderbolt ready. It doesn't have Thunderbolt on board, but you can buy that Thunderbolt EX2 card and add it in.
It's or if you buy the deluxe version, the card comes with it.
Yeah, right. So, like, you get those upgrade options. There's still, like, the overclocking capability of this board is basically going to be identical to the what is it? The Rampage? Is that what that is? The X99 family, is that what it is? The Rampage board from the X99 line. You know, you only get 6 SATA plus 1 eSATA. Probably for most people, that's plenty.
But you get MD.2 as well.
What did I say? I said eSATA. I meant, what did I mean?
SATA Express.
There you go.
Sex.
You confused me when you said that. SATA Express. Thank you. Yes. Thank you, Paul, for not trying to screw with my head. The only person left.
He's new here.
So actually, there's 2 more SATA ports up there. I guess those might be an external controller. But a lot of cool stuff here. Maury seemed to like it. I'm gonna jump to here where he talks about the conclusion areas. Yeah, I mean, overclocking performance was good. You got 4.498 gigahertz. Again, essentially identical to what we saw on the other ASUS boards. Pricing $250. Now that doesn't seem like the price of an entry level board, but for X99 platform, it's kind of.
What does the X99 Deluxe go for? It's not much more than that, is it?
I don't know the answer to that question.
Oh.
If only you had the internet.
I don't remember offhand.
If only you had the internet. If I had to keep track of every motherboard current pricing.
Favorites.
I would.
The X99 Deluxe is $373 on Newegg right now. And the X99-A is $235. So pretty big.
That's $140 difference.
Yeah,
that's a significant change there. So, have you played much with the X99 platform? Have you used this board specifically, Paul? Or any thoughts on kind of like the entry level class of X99 product?
I have not used this board directly. I do have the X99 Deluxe, which I've been playing around with, and I haven't had any issues with. I've heard a few people say that the X99 Deluxe has had some wonky problems, but I don't have any anecdotes to share. But I will say, as far as the Dash A goes, like you're saying, you're getting 90%, I feel like, of the functionality that most people will need. And the other thing I noticed just recently, actually, was I took a glance at DDR4 prices. And I was just of the mindset for a while, like, oh, DDR4, you're going to have to pay $250, $300 to get on to X99 if you want a quad channel kit. But it's down to like $150. You can get a 4x4 kit now of like DDR4 2400-ish memory. So I always like to advocate jumping onto the enthusiast platform because I feel like it's got the longest lifespan. And especially since X99 is still so relatively new, it's become a little bit easier to recommend to people now that you can get board and like a 5820K and the memory all for not like $1,000, but a little bit less than that. Yeah.
Just for God's sakes, don't buy a 28-lane CPU.
You don't like the 28?
Why not? Why would you not buy that?
It's very cost effective if you're not doing SLI.
Yeah.
Even if you're doing two-way SLI.
I suppose. But I'm just expecting to see a lot more use for the PCIe bus than just multiple video cards coming out.
I mean, if you're going to do two video cards and a PCIe SSD...
You still have enough lanes.
There's still enough lanes.
Yeah, but DX12, man. DX12 is going to saturate that bus.
No.
Okay.
Nah.
No, actually,
Reasonably priced
there are people who say that there are applications which are saturating PCIe by 8 3.0.
Don't saturate my bus, yo.
Okay. I won't.
Thank you. So check out Maury's review. It is also up at PCPro.com, which is a place you should go often and look at stories. So I was gone last week. I was at GDC. You guys were snowed in.
By GDC stories and snowed in.
Yeah, so you guys covered most of what I saw.
Use crappy Hangouts.
Yeah, I mean, it worked fine.
Until Josh.
It helped us get it. Well, sure, it helped us get a podcast out when there's no other way to do it. So I will say that's a positive. There were a couple of other things that happened after the show that I wanted to bring up. First, I got to meet with Intel finally at GDC, and they demoed the socketed LGA 1150 Broadwell CPU with Iris Pro graphics. So this is going to be one of only a couple, I think, Broadwell-based parts that will go into sockets, right? In this case, we're looking at a 65-watt TDP part that has Iris Pro. It'll be the first desktop processor to have Iris Pro graphics, which is, remember, the integrated graphics that has I don't know how much, was it 40 megs? Something like that.
On Iris Pro?
Yeah, of embedded
I don't know if it's 40.
on the chip.
Yeah.
Specifically for that graphics processor.
To help make it so it's not using all the system memory.
Yeah, well, it improves performance pretty dramatically, right? So what's interesting is that they're only going up to 65-watt TDPs because they know that there's no real performance benefit for Broadwell against Haswell.
Mm-hmm.
On the CPU side, a couple of percent at most.
Yeah.
Broadwell, again, being kind of targeted towards low power stuff. Maybe it doesn't even scale as high as Haswell could. I don't know that for a fact. I'm just kind of positing at this point. And so they're going to go with some 65-watt parts with Iris Pro to kind of see the market and see how it reacts to that. Does anybody here have any particular interest in a 65-watt part so it's not going to be as fast in terms of raw CPU compute as a Haswell 4770K probably?
Where would that...
That's 88, isn't it?
I mean, what is the performance of that?
87.
Yeah.
In, discrete GPU terms?
So, say again. What's
the performance of that graphics? And
I don't know yet. We don't know what the graphics configuration is, only that it's Iris Pro, which means it will have embedded memory. Now, it will be faster, and I would say it's probably going to put you in the realm of a R7 240, maybe. Okay. Just kind of guessing, right? Like something below a 750, GTX 750 from NVIDIA.
Okay.
Like it'll be under that.
That's nothing to sneeze at for a lot of people. I mean,
here's the issue. It is, if you're going to build a desktop, right? So this, like, if you're going to put a discrete graphics card in it, you don't buy this chip,
right?
Right. There's no point really.
Yeah.
Unless turns out to be some kind of compute capability that you can do with the GPU embedded with that much memory that will be significantly faster.
Yeah.
I don't know of any specific examples of that yet. So there's either that, if you're using discrete GPU or not, and if you're using an integrated GPU, then that's kind of where your options are, right? And 65-watt TDP is kind of high for like a mini ITX system if you're trying to make something thin.
Right.
It'll be an interesting kind of use case, right? Something Sebastian would be curious about, for what was that perfect home theater case? Like, do they make are they going to make a thin mini ITX version for it? Or how are you going to get away with building systems that way? Because you want to.
It is a really niche thing because if you're going, chances are if you're looking for the really small build or a low power build that's just a home theater PC, you're not even really gaming on it anyway. Well, so you don't really need the Iris Pro to that level.
I mean, the home theater PC that our readers and viewers are interested in is going to do some type of PC gaming probably, even if it's minor.
It'd have to be really minor,
right? So, but I mean, you'll be able to play, like
play Dota
and League of Legends and Counter-Strike and all those types of games on Iris Pro graphics.
Only the most popular games in the world.
Only the most popular games in the world, right?
That's true.
World of Warcraft.
You'll be able to play those on this.
Yeah.
So I don't know. There's not much. There's no other information other than that. Other than they said it was going to be a 65-watt unlocked desktop processor. So I don't know. Anybody have interest in adding one of these to a system? It's hard to know. You don't know the performance levels yet or what it's going to cost. So maybe don't answer that question, I guess.
It seems like kind of a weird proposition to me because you have like a desktop socketed processor, but most of the selling points on it seem really geared towards like mobile, which I mean is kind of what Broadwell was designed for in the first place, so it makes sense. But yeah, I at one point like last year when Z97 first came out and they're like, oh, it's going to be compatible with Broadwell when it comes out, I was a little excited, but I've gotten less and less so as I've heard more details about it. I mean, which isn't a huge deal because Haswell, I mean, is still doing well, and Skylake is supposed to be like pretty soon, I think, after Broadwell. So
that's the rumor.
Yeah, I think for integrated graphics, I still would recommend like an AMD APU if you really were planning to game with integrated graphics.
Right, and that's what that will be the interesting comparison, is taking something like the 7850K, which is still AMD's top end, APU, right, and then compare it to what you get with this. What's the price difference? What's the power consumption difference? Because that's kind of been AMD's kind of lone processor flag, where they can, victory flag they can hold up in the air, and we'll be curious how strongly Intel goes after it.
It's going to have to be pretty cheap.
Yeah, it is. In related news, ASUS did announce UEFI updates for a huge amount of their 9 series motherboards that will support these socketed 5th gen Intel Broadwell processors. So we know that they're coming relatively soon. For example, the Z97 Deluxe BIOS 2205 will support these new processors. So it's cool that existing motherboards will be able to use these, right? They're not releasing a new chipset along with it. This is not that big of a launch. So if you've got a Z97 board, or if you find a good deal on a Z97 board that you want to put into like a mini ITX system or micro ATX build, with this, keep an eye out for those types of deals and specials that might be happening. So hopefully we'll see updates from Gigabyte and MSI and others in the coming days or weeks about their updates as well. And then the last bit of information, I think, from Intel at GDC that I thought was more interesting than maybe most people initially did, is that they announced a partnership with Raptr, the same company that uses or works with AMD to release their kind of, what is it called? The Gaming Evolved app? Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's their version of the GeForce Experience.
Right. So NVIDIA came out with GeForce Experience. It's a pretty cool app. It does some really neat things. AMD didn't develop their own. They partnered with Raptr instead of, it's kind of this like, what do you call it, crowdsourced thing, right, where they collect data from all these users, and that's how they do their settings. And then it also does Twitch recording or Twitch streaming and local recording and all that other kind of stuff. And it's turned into be a fairly interesting application. I don't use it. I don't really use GeForce Experience either, but it's, different strokes for different folks. But Intel announced a partnership with Raptr to bring the same piece of software to people that use Intel integrated graphics, whether it be mobile or, like the new Broadwell Iris Pro stuff. Right, so it'll do the same things. It will properly select the best game settings based on your hardware. It will do replays and recording and broadcasting and all that type of stuff. It will check for new drivers, right? It will alert you when there's a new Intel driver.
Sounds just like GeForce Experience.
Right. It's so in theory, right? We still have to see how it's properly implemented and everything.
Yeah, but annoyingly, if you look at that screenshot, it isn't giving you a direct link to the driver.
No, it's more of a notification. You're not directly downloading it, from their software.
Well, it looked like there was a link at the bottom.
It was the auto detect page.
Oh, okay. Maybe it'll be a little bit better than that too. But
yeah, I mean, they're just working on it.
It's just Intel's site is always terrible to find graphics drivers
You're
on.
You're correct. Jeremy?
Forever.
Jeremy, were you going to say something?
I was just going to say that I hope that skip this update link at the very bottom of that works. Because that would be nice to have with a GeForce Experience, which doesn't. It's just like, oh no, you can update. Get out of the way, Java update. I want to talk about an update. It doesn't stop.
NVIDIA releases a lot more drivers than Intel does.
Also true.
to be fair, so I don't think you have to worry about being bothered very frequently from Intel. But here's what I thought was interesting about this, and let me know if you guys think this is right or wrong.
You're wrong.
Damn it. The users of integrated graphics actually need this type of functionality more than people that have discrete graphics. There is less room for error for a game's automatic settings to detect, right, when you're using integrated graphics.
That's true.
Than when you're using discrete graphics. If you have a 970, then if you could get 90 but instead you get 70, right, then whatever. But if you have integrated graphics and you could get 30 but instead you get 20, that's a more significant difference.
Yeah.
So I think the idea of this is fantastic. The issue will be the same people that need this software are also the least likely to use it. They're the least likely to install it. They're the least likely to pay attention to what it says, to do what it's saying. Hey, set your settings this way, or click this button to auto set your game settings.
So what you're saying is it shouldn't inform you that there's a new graphics driver. It should just do it.
No, not maybe. Like
for those kind of people.
My question to them was, is this going to be so when you download AMD's driver, this software is included with the driver.
Right.
That's not going to be the case, at least initially, with Intel's.
That's kind of a
separate
mistake.
Thing.
That's a mistake.
And I said, okay, well, when you sell systems like notebooks, is it going to be pre-installed? Well, that's kind of up to the OEM and the software provider. And I said, I understand that, Intel, but you're a fairly large company.
It's never going to catch on.
You make many billions of dollars.
Yeah.
You have a slight amount of influence in the industry.
Yeah.
You could coerce these OEMs to say that we think this is the best thing. And I think if it were a pre-installed thing, and I know people hate bloatware, but if it were a pre-installed thing that actually did what it would promise to do, I think it would be a huge benefit.
Maybe they're concerned that it would interfere with the person that buys that system and then adds a GPU, and now you have.
Well, I'm talking about, mostly I'm talking about notebooks.
Oh, okay.
But possibly.
Yeah. Right.
There are other things you'd have to work out. It sounds like such a good idea, but I think.
Well, it seems that
almost nobody will use it because there will be a link to like download it on the desktop or something. Maybe
I think it should be
say to download it.
I think it should be part of the driver. It pretty much is part of the GeForce driver by now. It basically just comes in the package.
It pretty much is. And same thing with
it's part of the AMD Catalyst driver. You can check it or uncheck it as you want to.
But it's checked by default. But it's checked by default.
Yeah.
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 So I mean, Intel should just do the same thing.
I think you're right. I think they should do the same thing, and I think they need to do a little bit more education for people on what this software is and what it does. Because again, stereotyping, as I tend to do, I'm told, is that the people that are using only Intel integrated graphics will probably need a bit more hand-holding along the way to figure this type of stuff out.
No, do you think this is something that could roll into the actual Intel HD graphics software that gets installed on the system?
I hope so, but the thing with Intel is they're such a huge company that is so protective of their branding and their their kind of software stability that introducing a third-party utility like this seems kind of unlikely to me.
Yeah, they'd be sooner to roll one their own completely. I think, than
Right. It would seem to me like what they would do is maybe like try this out and see what they learn, and then write their own version of HD graphics experience,
or buy that company.
Here's a check. Was it Dennis Fong? Is that who it is?
I guess. The Raptr guy.
Yeah, the guy who was the first professional gamer. Thrash. Yeah. Whatever his name is.
Firing Squad.
I met him. Yeah, I met him there. He talked about it. And it's like, I'm sure in the back of his mind, that's what I would be thinking. It's like, give me $10 million. Give me $10 million. Give me $10 million. Maybe it's worth more than 10.
I'm kind of curious what AMD is thinking, because it's like, one, either Intel will pull the rug out from under us, or Intel will provide a lot more development funds for these guys to make our product better as well.
I actually don't think Intel would pull the rug out from under them on this. I just don't think Intel considers them to be a threat anymore.
That would hurt if they did that, though. That would be like...
Oh, I mean, it would, but Raptr works on NVIDIA cards, too. If you have an NVIDIA card, it works, and AMD, was fine with that. I don't think Intel would try to close it off, right? No. Unless they buy the company or something like that, then I think it'd be fine. But anyway, like I said, it's interesting, and I think it may have more implications in the future than most believe. Speaking of the future, it turns out the future. Even though we have a Titan X video card sitting on our desk in front of us, AMD didn't want to be left out of the excitement of new GPUs while at GDC.
Okay.
So when I went to my meeting with them, they told me, "Hey Ryan, guess what? Guess what's in this box?"
Oh, we talked about this a little bit.
What's in the box? What's in the box? He opens it up, and it's Gwyneth Paltrow's head, and it was terrible.
Oh no, we talked about it on.
But it had the guy from AMD, and Thrax tried to run away and shot him too. And he took his watch and plaid shirt, and it was terrible.
Yeah, we talked about this on Twitch last week.
Plaid shirt. Yep. I should have worn it today. It would have been a little tight on me, to be honest.
We talked about this on Twitch last week. That's what it was.
So they say, hey Ryan, guess what's in try out this VR demo.
As they point over at a 1985 PC case.
Try out this VR
mind
demo.
You.
And I go, okay, it's cool. Yeah, great. He's like, guess what? I don't know, man. Just tell me the answer. And he says, it's running on a upcoming flagship Radeon R9 GPU in there. And I go, okay, cool. Can I see it? Well, no.
No.
Can you just take the side off the case? No. How am I supposed to believe that that's actually an upcoming card in it? Well, you just,
we don't want you to see the block of ice in there.
I don't. So they
Sebastian Peak was here.
Ice cube cooling.
He optimized it.
It's not Sebastian they're worried about, it's Linus.
You optimized it? Oh, we optimized it.
Yeah.
So they told us and other people that there's a next generation Radeon, a flagship Radeon R9 graphics card in that system running the demo. They did in fact pick possibly the worst case to display it in, but whatever.
It was the absolute worst.
But they couldn't have a case with a window on it.
Obviously not.
They also put the case on the floor. That's a big no-no in my opinion.
Type case.
Yeah.
And it's on the floor. Well, you wouldn't want to put a case like that on the table.
You wouldn't want to show
some
it off.
confidence in the cooling, because that case has crap cooling compared to a modern case, and it's not on fire.
So
that is true.
So the rumor would be then, if all the rumors are true, this is a Radeon R9 390X or something to that effect, and the rumors are that it's using water cooling by default for single GPU cards. So
it has 140
they wouldn't even let me look at the back of it.
Yeah.
Because the back of it would be where there's like a radiator mount right there. So in theory, if I just wanted to be a real butthead about it, I could have been like, oh, I'm not looking inside of it. I just want to see if it's actually plugged in and go look.
Yeah.
So what kind of video connections you got?
But they could have just claimed it was a CPU.
Or looked at the video connections and the vents and stuff like that and see what's back.
Put your hand back there. Feel the heat.
It burns.
Did the thought cross your mind to just grab it and run?
So it was actually funny.
Whole case?
So they told me this, and I was kind of like, yeah, okay, guys, because the day before is when NVIDIA had launched the Titan X, had announced it, right, at the Tim Sweeney thing. And it very much felt like a Me Too type of thing. Hey, you didn't ask us what's in this system, did you?
Yeah.
And I kind of left the meeting room not even really taking a picture, and I was like, whatever. And then I kind of had this fake discussion in my head about how I could write that into the story about, can I see it? No. Can I type it? No. I was like, oh, I got to take a picture of this. So I just kind of walked in the middle of their next meeting, and they kind of got up to stop me. I said, no, I'm just taking a picture. And I went right up to it and took a picture with my phone or whatever and left.
In the middle of the next meeting, you could have totally oh no,
I did not.
I'm just taking a picture,
it.
and you just rip the case open.
I'm trying to think who was there. Richard Huddy was there, and Antal was there. Yeah, I could have outrun both of them carrying a case.
Yeah, there you go.
Sure. I'm pretty confident about that.
You should have just got a cardboard box and did it Solid Snake style.
That's right. Yeah.
Totally.
Do a cardboard box, shimmy a little bit across the wall.
Just the case.
And they'd be like,
the
Ryan,
case is just moving.
Ryan, we can see you. Nope, can't see me. I'm in a box.
Just a box.
Just a box. Oh, damn it. So that was that. And then the final thing from GDC, Imagination Tech, makers of Power VR.
Yep.
Who are divested from Intel in a very rude fashion.
Yeah, but is that still what's in iPhones?
Yep.
That's still the GPU architecture in iPhones, right?
Apple owns 10%.
Apple owns 10% of Power VR. Well, now that Intel has divested, it's time for Apple to just buy it all and move on. But they actually had a demo running on a Vulkan system, not a system, a Vulkan driver, I guess. An
Are you out of your
Vulkan
mind?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Sorry.
There's that. So I'm sure you guys talked about Vulkan and stuff last week as well. But hey, it's the OpenGL, the Kronos group, took Mantle from AMD. AMD offered it up freely, took it, built a new API on it. API on it.
Right.
So this causes
does that mean Mantle's dead? I don't know
this causes NVIDIA to actually develop for Mantle in a sideways type way.
But it's only developing for Mantle if it somehow gets backported into Mantle, right? Yeah. Which doesn't really exist anymore. I don't know. I'm not going to have this argument again.
Will it get ported into Metal?
Metal is completely unrelated to.
Okay.
That was S3 and then Apple.
The Metal thing and Vulkan's interesting considering Apple's stake in Imagination.
Yeah, but Imagination's got to support all the APIs.
I mean, I guess.
Right. They're going to support Vulkan. They're going to export. They're going to support DX12. They're going to support. You know, all that stuff. Well, so as long as they're an independent GPU vendor, they need to support everything. Maybe they won't be for long, but they need to support everything as long as they're.
I don't know if they need to support DX12 anymore.
No,
Intel's not putting them in their chips.
Well, I mean, Intel may still in the future. I don't know, but I don't know. Paul, what did you make of the whole API kerfuffle this past week? Anything?
This was something that I only caught bits and pieces of moving along. I've heard a lot of this, like, potentially is Mantle dead, and it does seem to have some weight, and I kind of feel like it almost might be a good thing if that's the case, but not if it's like dead completely. But I don't know the details, but I've been hearing that there were elements of Mantle that were used for DirectX 12, and as a result, DirectX 12 should actually support some of the things that Mantle supports at the same time. Is that accurate?
Well, I mean, kind of. I mean, somebody in the chat room is saying, Strider saying they never said Mantle is dead. You're right, they didn't. I did.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they very clearly did not want to say that.
You connect the dots, though. It's not that hard.
Look, it's all a semantics thing, right? Do I think Mantle will become anything else in the future? I do not. The idea that it's like a custom API for very specific customers that want to have access to GPU
games.
And maybe there's like a big GPU conglomerate that wants to access AMD GPUs at an extremely low level. Because when Kronos took Mantle and built Vulkan, they had to, like, there's a little bit of an abstraction layer there because remember, it has to work on more GPUs than just AMD. It works on NVIDIA and Intel and PowerVR and all that stuff and ARM and Qualcomm. So it's not as low level as much as Mantle was. The statements from AMD have been that, well, we're working with these other partners that may want Mantle 2.0, whatever that happens to be, or maybe we're going to continue to develop GPU features based on it. Yeah. But I just don't see those panning out to anything, and I think Mantle served its purpose.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I kind of see that it panning out that way as well because it's part of AMD dictating to the industry where they kind of want to go.
Do you honestly believe that AMD can dictate to the industry?
They can't dictate, but they can certainly advise and push the direction. So they got the Frostbite guys to sign on to Mantle. They got a couple other guys to sign on as well.
Yeah.
And what happens with Mantle? Well, it gets adopted by the OpenGL guys. The Kronos group.
It got adopted.
Okay, so AMD keeps their developers doing that and saying, hey, you know what? We've got hardware we can design from the get-go that will support this, and this. Let's offer out this API in another year and a half, another 2 years, and we'll keep working on it, make sure it's nice and mature and working. We'll throw that on the industry.
Right.
We'll have X amount of guys with big games come in and say, hey, I really like these features. I like what you're doing with it. And let's give it to the Kronos group. And we've got an instant advantage over our competitors because we've developed the hardware for it. We've got solid drivers and software. And we've got the expertise to get game developers up and running with this software.
I would say two counters of that would be AMD has themselves said that Anderson came to them and said we wanted to do something like this, and they were the only company that would kind of want to do that, right? So still good on them for doing it. I don't know if a company in the position that AMD is in financially is going to want to spend the engineering resources to continue to developing these things unless they have a very specific goal in mind. They had a very specific goal in mind with Mantle, right? They had a very specific target they wanted to hit and a direction they wanted the industry to go in. I don't think AMD is the type of company that can sit there and just kind of like churn its wheels and spend money and try to figure out what the next thing is.
Yeah, they shouldn't be heavy in R&D right now.
Yeah, I mean, well, they need to be heavy in R&D.
Not that R&D.
You know what? They got some pretty talented guys there. I mean, Raja Kaduri is a smart fella.
Absolutely.
Guy on the CPU side. I can't remember his name.
Yep.
Took away from Apple.
Removed, came back. Keller.
Yeah, Keller. And I mean, they've got some really smart people there.
Not saying they don't.
I'm not saying that they're going to form a cabal and say this is where all graphics things are going to go. But you know what? They can certainly influence it by being smart. And by offering guys who are aggressive on the graphics side, like Johan Anderson, the ability to differentiate their product and have all kinds of new interesting bells and whistles that they can implement a year before anybody else can.
I hope that's a... Go ahead, Jeremy.
I'm just going to say that AMD has a long-standing history of this. Not a successful history, but a history. First to hit a gigahertz, AMD. First to release the commercial x64 architecture, AMD. Arguably the first to do the first true dual core, AMD.
Yeah.
They keep coming out with it first. It never goes anywhere, and they never make much money off it, but they do seem to drive the industry in certain directions.
You're right. That's true. They have a good history of that type of stuff.
It's a bizarre, sad history that I wish had a better happy ending.
I agree.
To it, but
I agree. I want them to be successful, and I think what they need to do is they need to develop the GPU market share a little bit more in order to be able to convince those developers that they can make that push on that platform level. So, moving on. Oh, this is short. Logitech launched the G303. Daedalus?
Did you not watch Smurfs?
Daedalus. He's the guy who flew really close to the sun.
Also true.
Did his wings melt?
Yes, they did.
That's you should not do that.
With your mouse?
Never fly too close to the sun. Also, never mouse too close to the sun. But
there's a sun in this mouse.
The Daedalus Apex gaming mouse.
Will it burn your hand, and will your frame rates fall through the floor?
Yes.
Or will the blue LED burn out after 2 weeks?
It's actually an RGB LED.
Oh, well, then you're not going to worry.
Completely customizable to 16.8 million colors. So essentially what this mouse is, if you don't have a lot of background on what the Logitech mice are, is it is the sensor from the G502. And
with the accelerometer?
No, that's the 402.
Okay.
This is just, I forget, it's the PMW 3366.
So like that. A really good optical sensor.
A very good optical sensor, but then it's the lighter body styling of the 302 combined to make the 303.
Okay.
And then they added RGB lighting in there as well as another thing there. So apparently this was direct feedback from the consumer base that, hey, we like the sensor in the 502, but a lot of us don't like the 502 is kind of heavy.
Yeah.
Right. The 302 is very light, but its sensor was moderate. Right. So they combine them, make a new product, boom, and now you have a brand new what is it, like a $39 mouse. 12,000 DPI. Who uses a 12,000 DPI?
Well, you don't turn it up that high usually.
I mean, they said as much when they were talking to us about it. It's like, look, we don't really think anybody's going to go up to 12,000 DPI, but it's the fact that we could.
You sneeze.
I mean, hell, email Wendell and see if he would.
Yeah. No, nobody would do that. It's not possible.
Don't think he would.
It is not. It's not possible. So it's the PMW 3366. It has like surface tuning, which is kind of an interesting feature. Where, like, if you're on some kind of uneven surface and you think tracking is off, you enable it, you do some figure eights with the mouse, and it kind of tunes itself to track it a little bit better. So they sent us one before I left for GDC, and I haven't had a chance to really use it. So I'm going to replace it on my system and give it a shot.
We'll put the
we kind of screwed up.
What?
Icarus was the one who flew close to the sun. Daedalus.
I don't know why you say we. I don't know why you say we screwed up. It was clearly you.
It was obviously me.
Clearly.
I know it was one of those.
Paul knew that. He just didn't
want to embarrass you. I'm glad. I didn't want to speak out, but I'm glad there's some fact checking going on.
Totally speak out. Like,
so I had a minor in Greek mythology, and you guys all screwed up.
Oh man!
Still beat my Smurfs reference.
Yeah,
because for a while he was Daedalus, then he became Gargamel.
Oh yeah, Gargamel.
Gargamel from Smurfs.
But he started as Daedalus.
He's a jerk.
Yeah.
Gilgamesh? Do you know where he's from?
Gilgamesh.
That's Babylonian.
It's, pre-Babylonian, but yeah.
He was on the island with Skipper.
Yes.
Mazda.
Gilgamesh and his wife. Yes.
All right, so next bit of news. AMD is going to release a FreeSync driver on March 19th, which is next week.
Sweet.
It is next Thursday, to be exact. Is that right? Yeah, next Thursday. And the reason they kind of put this statement out is because apparently there are already FreeSync monitors selling in Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. Like monitors that's selling with the FreeSync logo.
With the logo on the box.
Yeah, with the logo on the box. But you don't have a driver to enable it. And so people are like, hey, WTF, which I think is a totally fair question.
That is true.
And so they've said, well, we're releasing the driver on March 19th. For single GPUs, the Crossfire support will come in April. So
what?
Are they doing this?
They can't make
tiered
this
crap again.
They can't make this work in Crossfire.
It's like you can have the nice frame rated Crossfire drivers, but not for certain.
Yeah, I'm not sure
resolutions up.
I'm not sure what the single GPU versus multi GPU thing is. There's obviously extra latency involved in the pipeline when you have to move frame buffer from one card to the second card to the output.
Yeah.
They're not saying they don't. They put a specific time frame on when that driver will be out. So I mean, they say April.
It just still seems like it's been so long in the making.
I'm sure we'll have monitors next month. I'm sure you'll have monitors next month. No, actually,
well, you could order them.
Actually,
and now it's shifted to. I'm sure you'll have drivers next month for your Crossfire.
Here's the secret. I also not only am I not in Europe, Middle East, or Africa, I also have a monitor.
Look around, and has anybody ordered a Cat Leap monitor?
A Cat?
So ordering monitors from overseas is not a weird action for some of this.
That's true. What about those Korean ones?
Yeah.
I've ordered a Yamakasi Leonidas before. I still use it. Actually, got it a couple years ago.
So from what we learned, there are FreeSync monitors for sales overseas already.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I leave to go out of town again on Sunday, so
Aww.
I need a driver today. But I didn't get a driver today. So maybe I'll get a driver tomorrow.
Maybe.
Who knows? But they have guaranteed that it'll be out on March 19th. I just hope I get it before March 19th so I can actually tell somebody whether or not they should buy a monitor.
Like, what if it comes out and it's horrible? Wouldn't it make sense to, like, let reviewers maybe look at it a little bit sooner?
No, if it was really bad, you wouldn't give it to reviewers ever.
So
you'd find a way to ban all of their IP addresses.
So what you're telling me is that they think it's bad?
No, that's not what we're saying at all.
No.
Okay.
You troll.
No, they just haven't released a driver. For whatever reason, they haven't released a driver yet. They haven't given it to the media yet. For whatever reason that may be.
I just think it's hilarious that we waited on monitors for so long, and now there are monitors.
I think probably they would prefer the monitors not be for sale yet.
Well,
just throwing that out there.
So the monitor we may have shipped from Europe.
Yeah, I think so.
It did.
Yeah.
Because, there's kind of an issue with monitors and the whole port closure on the West Coast thing. So, China and Korea, they're really making it.
There was some stuff we were waiting on that's still on a boat on the West Coast
on a dock.
because of the dock.
So that could explain why Europe has them and we don't.
That's true. Actually, I can say that for specifically, there is a non-FreeSync monitor of mine that is sitting in a bin on the West Coast. So, yeah. So the driver's coming March 19th. That should give you an idea of when the release of FreeSync will happen. So there you go.
Somewhere around March 19th.
Paul, where do you fall on the FreeSync G-Sync debate?
I'm for them.
Okay.
Answer yes.
I have gotten the chance to test out a little bit of G-Sync here and there. I think it's fantastic. I think it's definitely what everyone needs, more so than 5K displays and stuff like that.
100% agree.
Yeah, I mean, it's another one of those things that's very difficult to convey through video or talking about it or writing an article about it. You just have to kind of stand in front of one and try one out, and then you're like, well, this is how everything's going to be. Give it a year or two. I mean, I'm always for open standards, so I've always liked that AMD's kind of been a champion of that. So I do like a lot of the stuff going on behind FreeSync. I always hope that one day in the future, I'm going to be able to buy a 4K monitor that will work equally as well with FreeSync and G-Sync.
Be nice, wouldn't it?
Who knows if that'll actually happen.
It'd be nice, wouldn't it? We will see shortly. Connected data updates transporter line. Anything interesting here, Alan?
Yeah, so these are the guys that make a Dropbox replacement, but the cloud is actually a device sitting in your office.
Yep.
That kind of thing.
I love the cloud in my office.
Yeah. So the first round realized this was a company that the guy split off of Drobo and then started connected data, and then they re-merged with Drobo. So then naturally, as soon as they started releasing these products, initially they looked an awful lot like Drobos, right? There was a Transporter 5 that looked just like a Drobo, like a 5-bay Drobo.
Sure.
Right? Just with different guts, And then there was a Transporter 15 that looked just like an 8-bay Drobo, right? They just kind of put a blue line in front of it to make it, brand it. Well, now they've replaced those two boxes with much beefier boxes, 8-core Atom kind of deal. it's basically a big RAID in a box.
Yep.
That's supposed to just sit in the back corner of your office, and it's accessible. They have apps that works just like Dropbox, that sort of thing.
So you could install the app at your house on your PC at your house, and it would sync data.
Yep.
Back and forth,
and then
install it on your phone and access the data that way. Okay.
And the big difference between these guys and Dropbox is that they have a line. There's two different types of shares. There's a share that is synced, which is Dropbox competitive, right? But then there's another one that just reaches back transparently to the device.
So you don't actually have the data locally on your system necessarily, but you can access it as if it were just more slowly.
Right. Yeah, you're just pulling the files over the internet, but it's a virtual kind of thing. Like it just meshes with Explorer.
Okay.
And you just browse the folders as if you had them on your machine.
Like having a network drive.
Kind of, sort of, yeah.
Okay.
But over the internet.
But over the internet?
Yeah.
Wow, technology is amazing.
So, they beefed up these boxes, and I think the price actually came down a little bit, even though they are still kind of pricey.
They're still pricey. The Transporter 15 starts at $24.99.
Yeah.
Which is $2,499, not $24.99.
And then the 30, and the numbers are for how many users simultaneous they're rated for.
Okay.
And the 30 is exactly twice that, $5,000.
$49.99, right, Josh?
Yeah. It is a 9 terabyte device though, which is I mean for business.
These boys ship with hard drives, right?
Yeah, that's with
and set up.
Yeah, you just plug them in and go. That's how they.
So this is still
these.
Definitely not enterprise, but maybe like small business targeted.
Yeah, that's pretty much what their target is. They have a just regular transporter, like just a regular little one drive thing. That's what the company started with. Right. And that's much cheaper. That's like $100, $150 or something like that. You can buy it without a drive. You just plug in. I'm sure everybody has like a spare laptop 2.5-inch hard drive sitting around from when they updated to an SSD or something.
Maybe, yeah.
You just take that, stick it in there, poof, it's cloud storage.
Gotcha.
For one person.
Yeah.
Right. And that's pretty cheap. So they do have cheaper offerings.
Gotcha.
So there's that. Then there was some other stuff. I wish we were at PAX East. Specifically, I wish I was at PAX East.
Are we moving on to the next story? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry.
If only to see what looks like the Intel 750 series.
I'm sure it's nothing.
Was sitting there in a machine.
It's crap.
You wouldn't have got any more than this picture, so.
That's true. But
he could have seen it.
But I could have seen it, and although
you could have hashtag Josh Tech with it.
That's true. That's true. So actually, if you have a really keen eye and maybe access to a P3700 series SSD, and we're able to hold that up at the same angle that this one is in the photograph, you would realize that the markings on the edge, the top edge that you can see of that PCB, are identical to a P3700. So it's the same PCB.
Yeah, but we haven't seen a P36 or 3500 either. Right?
We haven't.
36 is shipped.
Right, but I'm saying we haven't seen it. So the markings could be identical on the 36 and 35.
They are. It's the same PCB.
Okay. Well,
yeah. But the key is that this is also the same PCB, and it's not a P series.
So this is SSD. Intel. This is potentially Intel's
consumer.
Well, I guess it's not potentially. There's a damn picture of it.
I mean, it's right there.
And it says SSD prototype across it. So this is a PCI Express NVMe SSD. I'm trying to think of more acronyms from INTLE. No, INTEL. I tried to make it rhyme. I couldn't do it.
It's PCIe by 4 3.0. More than likely 18-channel controller.
Okay.
So where regular SSDs will have like a 4-channel, maybe an 8-channel controller. Yep. This is 18. And that combined with NVMe means really, really freaking high IOPS and really low latency, like about as good as you can get.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're going to do this in a consumer kind of product is good.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
People have been waiting for that for a long time. People have been waiting for the P36 and P3500s to like come out, specifically the 3500 because it would be the least expensive version of it.
Yeah.
So we don't know anything about this. Is still like this is not a launch or anything.
It's not a launch. It's
like
not
a little tease they gave. Like it was clearly on purpose because it was on a PC with a window on it.
And they put SSD prototype on it.
Yeah. Well, they may have done that anyway internally, but like, so we don't know anything about pricing or anything like that.
No,
right?
we don't know about pricing. We know maybe what the capacities are going to be from what the guy, the Gamer Nexus guy was told.
Oh,
guy PAX.
That'd be a 400 or 1.2?
400 1.2, and that they're considering 800 gig I really think they need to stop considering and do 800
We've said
gig.
that since the P3700 launched. They should do an 800 gig version.
Well, there is an 800 gig for the P3700. There's not one of
for the 35
of the cheapest one.
Right.
Right. So this looks like they're basically just taking whatever optimizations they did for the P3500. They just kind of like said, okay, let's just put some cheaper flash in it,
drive.
and we'll just make it a lesser binned flash, not rated for as many writes, that kind of thing.
Right.
Just to make drive a little bit cheaper, right? But they really do need to make an 800 gig drive because, like, you're a power user. You're looking at this drive. 400, probably not enough.
No, I would say not.
Right? But say it's $1 a gig. Do you want to spend $1,200? Do you want to go from $400 to $1,200?
No, I don't.
No. You want to go to $800.
Can it
Still
be
a high number.
Can it be $100?
Well, it's not going to be $100. But
I'd like it to be.
I was just hypothetically going like $1 a gig. This probably will be $1 a gig, maybe even cheaper. Just kind of a guess.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, it's coming from Intel. They make the flash.
People have been asking for this for a long time. I think they'll be excited to see it. Paul, any thoughts on? Have you played with any PCIe drives at all? SSDs?
I have with a few. I still have I don't like some of the when it drops an option ROM in and it extends the boot time. I'm never a fan of that, but hopefully NVMe might solve some of those issues. But yeah, I'm really excited for these drives. Actually, Alan, I'm going to email you after this and try to get connected with the Intel SSD person because I need to get back in touch with them and try out some of these drives. That'd be super sweet.
And speaking of option ROM, it's a combination of option ROM and BIOS support for NVMe booting. That's probably the two things that are the reason that this hasn't been a thing yet. Right?
Yes.
Because even the P3700, like, I tried to boot one in my home PC.
Yeah.
No bueno.
So you also have a really old motherboard that doesn't support UEFI.
Sure. I tried it on another motherboard at the house. That's a UEFI BIOS.
But for example, I mean, it's complicated enough that our Intel NUC was delayed a little bit because they were trying to get a PCIe.
NVMe. It was an NVMe PCIe SSD.
It wasn't.
Yes, it was.
No, it wasn't.
The 951.
951 isn't NVMe. It's AHCI. No, it isn't.
The 941.
941 is not.
951 is AHCI.
You're killing me.
I'm correct.
Anyway, you guys can argue off the air.
Anyway.
You know what the best part about this? You can get one of these and a piece of flint, and you can make a great fire with it.
Okay, yeah, I'm for that.
Yeah.
Another storage thing, a Western Digital Replus. What is this?
It's an RE Plus.
You got 20 seconds.
So there's a RAID edition, Western Digital, right? Work with me here, Ryan.
Yes.
Yes, RAID edition.
I'll give you an extra second for that.
Okay, so here's the cool thing. The competition for the RAID edition, stop counting down. Competition for the RAID edition was the HE6.
Okay.
That's that helium-filled drive. Right. And the big deal with that is, it's super low power because it's helium-filled and there's no friction in the disk, or much less friction. Okay. The thing was, Western Digital's RE series drive can transfer data a heck of a lot faster than an HE6. Mm-hmm. You're going from like 175 meg per second up to 225 with an RE. Okay. So Western Digital's like, well, we want to make a low power drive. Let's just slow down the spindle speed and see. We'll make it like the similar throughput as the HE6.
Sure.
And see what happens to the power. Turns out it draws a watt less.
A lot or a watt?
A watt.
Okay.
Out of like 5. Like 20% less power.
And not important for consumers, important for data centers.
Important for data centers with like Facebook archiving all your old photos from
cold
years ago. Cold storage, yeah. So that's significant.
It's a really good logo,
right? It's really significant. I think it's just hilarious that they were just able to. We just have this drive that has much better throughput. We'll just slow it down and make a low power drive. Poof! Suddenly low power drive without filling it with helium and making it for much cheaper. That's like amazing.
But I like helium.
Yeah.
So does your drive spin at a higher pitch?
Which one?
With helium?
No.
It doesn't make any sense because when I breathe helium in.
Yeah, so the HE6 is a 7200 RPM drive. This is like a 50. What's the number now? It's a weird new number. It's not 5400.
5,760. I kind of wonder how they settled on that, actually.
5760.
I was kind of going for 5750 because I thought that sounded better.
Nope.
Off the, but
5760
is what we went
It's
with.
probably because of some harmonic with something off of 60 hertz so that it doesn't,
Sounds like crap. Anyway,
Something
moving
like
on.
Anyway.
More 4 gigabyte more 4 gigabyte GTX 960s, starting with the ASUS Strix. Apparently, you guys talked about a couple last week as well. So ASUS launched or announced one. Look how tiny that PCB is.
So small.
Yeah.
Look at that. It's so cute.
But you know what the
Josh
best part
can
about it
talk
is?
about how small it is.
Look how cute.
You just did the 750 Ti, didn't you?
Yeah.
Anyway,
The Strixes are tiny.
they are.
And not only that, but it's a 4 full gig,
It is
not 3.5.
And if I'm looking at this picture, like I see two memory chips up here, a pad for a third. We don't have a picture of the back. So
No, they didn't put a picture of the back on.
maybe is this one? No.
There's got to be 2 more on the back.
Yeah, I mean, there's 2 more on the back
Okay.
because they just don't make them that large. You know what I'm saying?
that-
Even
you
then,
need-
that's a gig per chip.
But you need 4 data paths to the
Yeah.
from
For
that
128.
architecture. Yeah.
So I mean, they're able to get. They've done this the typical kind of ASUS PCB upgrade stuff. Super alloy caps, super alloy choke, super alloy MOS. So much alloy.
And still just 1 6-pin.
So
And
much.
it's
And
super.
direct CU2.
Yeah.
So she's quiet.
Yeah. I mean,
Well, it's
look,
only
And
one
she's a little
6-pin
bit faster
connector, so.
than the other one that we're going to mention very quickly.
look how much larger. Look how much further the heatsink extends past the PCB on that. Right. Like.
Yeah.
This is good stuff. This is
That's
good
the
stuff.
drawback with the CU2.
I'm still.
It's tall.
Yeah, here's the second one that you were talking about, the MSI 4 gig, the gaming edition. See, the PCB is longer on this.
That's like twice.
It doesn't really matter. Like, if the cooler is the same length, who cares how long the PCB is?
Yeah.
But it's not as impressive looking, I guess.
Is the cooler actually the same length?
No,
I'm
well,
sure it's a little bit
the cooler
longer
is the
on
same
this.
length, but it's not as deep.
Oh, okay.
That is what are they? Twin Frozer 5 with
Yeah.
MSI.
Yeah.
They are actually a 2-slot solution.
Yeah.
So it's not inching into that third one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's just an actual 2.
So
Not like
Not quite as
2.2.
fast.
No, I'm assuming you guys talked about this last week, but what is the benefit of a 4 gig 960?
I don't know.
4K.
But you're on a 960.
You what are you
We
gonna
can
do?
only come up with Skyrim mods.
But if you say 4K, then you pretty much have to SLI them, and then you get a 980.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
I mean, the one thing that
Plus
I like
a half a
about
gig,
these,
but a 980.
the SLI is that's a 970.
and there's
sorry.
another reason too.
Okay.
Both of these cards have 3 DisplayPort outputs.
Yeah.
One HDMI and a DVI. But it's that 3 DisplayPorts. NVIDIA sometimes is a little bit stingy with their outputs.
I just don't. Yeah,
But apart from that, yeah, I'm with you. It's not going to be able to push it.
And it's so weird because when the 960 launched with the 2 gigabyte frame buffer,
Yeah.
like one of the first comments we got was, "Hey, I'm just going to wait for the 4 gig variant," and I was just like, "Why? Like, it doesn't need 4 gigs."
They didn't even plan like Tom was even saying like, no, we're not going to do a 4
Titan
gig.
they've already announced the Titan X has 12 gigs of memory.
Yeah.
And I go,
Why?
Okay, that makes sense.
GPU.
Compute 12 gigs
stuff.
may make sense.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but that's compute. That's not gaming.
Yeah, but the Titan is half compute, double precision,
it's more,
weirdness.
it's double precision, all that other crap, right? So it's more towards
Titan's a weird product
Yeah.
like that. And an 8 gig 980 makes no sense.
agreed.
would be a 7.
No,
No,
980.
it's a 970.
Oh, sorry.
980.
God,
A 970
you gotta
is
keep up
7
on this.
gigs. Damn it. Stop
At
it.
least it's a whole number.
I mean,
Well, no, and as I gleefully pointed out today, Dying Light, yet another zombie game.
yeah.
Well, Kyle could not push that 970 beyond 3.6 gigs, but didn't affect the gaming performance whatsoever. Still kicked the snot out of the 290 and the 290X.
Yeah.
It-
I don't know. Like,
Stop your complaining, people.
Paul, are we leaving anything out? Why would you want a 4 gigabyte 960?
The only reason I say need a 4 gig one is because I was one of the ones who was like, oh, it's only 2 gigs when it only came out with 2 gigs. But now I suppose we could complain that it's still only 128 bit. I don't know.
Yeah, like the only thing I can come up with is that if you're going to run multiple in SLI
Yeah.
to do 4K, then you only get the memory capacity of one card, right?
Yeah,
Technically,
you have to double
so
it up. Yeah.
getting 4 gigs would be a benefit there.
That's true.
But I just think if you're going to do something like 4K or 3440 by 1440, you should not be using 960.
Well, how much is this card going to be?
I don't know, $199 probably. Well,
$299.
This
they're like 200 to 220 for the 2 gig versions, but I haven't seen any of the prices for the 4 gig versions.
Probably
I would say if you are going to do SLI with a 960, that you should do the 4 gig though. I mean,
that's true.
If you're insisting on doing that.
But would you? So if say they're 250,
but
two
then
of them is $500.
But then you spend $500.
Shouldn't you just buy a 980?
Yes, you should.
Right?
Yeah.
Like I understand the idea of you buy one now and you don't have the money to spend $500. I get that.
I enjoy microstutter.
But you know, if you're going into it knowing you want 2 cards, but I would almost always I have always forever and ever and will probably always forever and ever tell you if you know you want to get 2 cards, you should probably get the better single card.
2-1.
If there's
a better
option,
single card, yeah.
Right? If that's an option.
Yeah.
So
they should have just partnered with Bethesda and said, this is the 4 gig Skyrim edition.
Yeah, because there's a game that can use memory that doesn't really need the compute capability.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's true. Maybe branding your brand new video card on a 5 or 6 year old game is not the ideal marketing strategy.
Hey, it's in the Raptr top 25.
It is. You're right.
It's unique.
I wonder
still
how many
selling, and people are obsessed.
But see, those Raptr things are minutes played, not units sold. How many new copies of Skyrim do they sell every month?
Wait, you can't buy a GPU to play an old game?
You can. Just saying.
Now you've got to go in and see what GPUs those gamers are currently playing with and market to them.
That's right. You're right.
Hey, I got a GTX 650 or a 663 gig. How's this going to help me out? How's it going to help brother out?
I agree. All right. Let's get into our hardware software picks of the week so we can finish up this damn show. I've already kind of talked about it, and it is the Gear VR. It's a $199 add-on for a very singular phone. You can only use this with the Note 4. And even then,
I thought singular was AT&T now.
Yeah. Smartass.
Beyond imagination. That's a song, you know.
I get it.
Kind of let the river run.
And interestingly, the international version of the Note 4 I had was actually not supported by this. I kind of had to use like a little bit of a hacked APK to get it to work. But it did function perfectly fine. Like it worked just fine. Again, if you have a Note 4, I think this is something worth buying for $199 maybe and playing around with. Don't expect this life-changing experience. But I mean, it's actually pretty good. It's got a better resolution than the Oculus kits that are out now. It's got a better resolution than
what?
The other ones that are out, like mouth.
The
HTC, the HTC,
the viewfinder.
It's also there's a touchpad on the side, which I didn't really know. There's buttons interface. Also, it's very clear that VR should be wireless at this point. Yeah. Like after all the demos I did at GDC, right, where you're tethered and there had to be a second person there to like hold up the wire so that when you spun around to look at the dragon, it didn't like choke you to death or something.
Right.
This is completely wireless. Now, it eats the shit out of that Note 4 battery.
And it's front heavy.
It's not so bad.
There's a phone hanging off your nose.
That's kind of gross.
No, this is light. Yeah, but then you're adding the phone to it.
Yeah, but there's a screen on every headset on the front.
I understand.
Right? So, you know, when you do this, it's not so bad, but like the wireless was cool, and then you can actually enable the
here.
You can enable the pass-through camera on it.
Good. Look at that camera. Look at that camera. Now blink. That's awesome. That is the best thing ever. No, you gotta go back. That's just, oh my god, that's cartoonish. That is so cartoonish.
Why are you an anime character now?
That's awesome.
I'm trying to see if there's just enough latency.
You're gonna have to wait till after. Yeah, but that was so funny. Like Ryan puts this on yesterday, I think, and he's like, "Oh, I could see where I'm going," because he turned on the camera,
the pass-through camera.
Like, think of all the work being done just to see.
Yeah, it's
what's
true.
In front of you.
I turn on the camera so I can see what's going on. So the camera's it's processing it, and then it's displaying it to me, and then it's doing it through the head tracking
with lag.
with lag. It made walking very difficult, I will say.
So, for the love of God, someone make a GIF out of that if I forget to tomorrow.
Yes, please. Animated GIF.
We'll put it on Josh Tech tonight.
Yes.
So that's my pick. Again, I don't think everybody should go out and buy it, and definitely don't go out and buy the phone only for it, because there's no upgrade path for this. This will only work with the Note 4.
Yeah.
I think did they announce another one for the GS6? I think they did. I think somebody told me that. I think we saw that. So
is there a way to take the front plastic off and change it?
I'm sure if you really try hard.
Physical size.
The problem is
like,
the physical size is different. So like the lens placement is what's important there.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
and again, with something like VR, you don't want to screw up even the littlest.
And like you wouldn't own that one and then buy an S6 probably, because you wouldn't own a Note 4 then buy an S6.
Sure.
Right. I wouldn't think so. Oh, I did totally forget. I wanted to bring up before we ended the podcast, Apple announced their new stuff. The only thing we really care about here,
watches and stuff,
is the MacBook.
Ugh.
It's got a small motherboard.
You know how close you were to buying a Yoga 3 Pro, Alan?
That was the sexiest.
But the Yoga 3 Pro has 3 ports.
Yeah.
I'm not saying there's no negatives to it.
3 ports,
and
it has HDMI out.
Believe me, I'm bummed about the thing, but
he's gonna own one in 3 weeks, but he's totally bummed about it.
Oh,
he said it like he didn't deny it. Let me. I'll just show this here because I think it's worth noting here. It is a Core M based piece of hardware, so it's the same hardware in the Yoga 3 Pro.
Yep.
In the new ASUS UX 305.
Yep.
Which ASUS put out a little ad claiming that they were thinner than the MacBook.
But Ryan, you warned me when I was looking at a Yoga 3 Pro for myself, saying, "Hey, this is lower power, or like less performance than a Yoga 2 Pro."
It is, because if you go from Haswell Ultrabook
to
Haswell
Core M.
U to Broadwell Y, you're going to see a decrease in performance.
Yep.
Yeah, you'll get extended battery life. I don't want to say extended battery life, but you get better power efficiency. It all depends on the size of the battery, right?
Yep.
But this is a 2 pounds, 12-inch display with some crazy resolution, kind of like the Yoga 3.
it's above 2560 by 1600.
Yeah, it's higher than that.
Yeah.
13.1 inches. Woof. 13.1 millimeters thick. It comes in gold. It looks amazing.
I'm sure it's
it looks
even
amazing.
better in person.
Apple does all kinds of stuff like they talked about the new key switches they designed. They're talking about the bezel here. So the bezel is not as thin as what you get on the Dell XPS 13, but they reiterated several times that it was because of the full-size keyboard.
Yep.
Like it is the keyboard that determined the width of the device, not the screen. 2304 by 1440.
Okay, so
So it's a 16 by 10. There you go. You like it, Alan.
Totally a
we
real
like
resolution.
16 by 10.
Yeah. They screwed up the trackpad. I mean, they changed the trackpad. So
I wouldn't say they screwed.
There's no more clicking. It doesn't move.
But it has the feedback that does the click thing.
Yeah, but we have no idea if that's good or not.
Yeah.
And this is the best trackpad I've ever used.
I was reading a couple things.
They kind of messed with something that was perfect, in my opinion, as well.
One of the people that toyed around with it said
3.0,
that if you turn that feedback up to max, like it feels just like it's clicking. So
it uses a USB Type-C 3.1 revision 1, which is not USB 3.1 speeds. It's 5 gigabits, just like USB 3.
Yeah.
I don't understand what that means. But this is the impressive part, right? So all of this is battery. Hey, where'd it go?
The battery disappeared.
Hey, come back.
Do you have any batteries?
So all that was battery. This is the only logic in the laptop, right? Like this is it. This has got your processor on it, your wireless.
That also
your
USB.
means
You're not buying
could go
one.
into your phone.
You're not going to buy one and update the SSD afterwards.
Why did the battery disappear? I want.
Because they're just trying to show.
The eternal cry of the Apple user.
See, now here's what they claim: up to 9 hours of battery life.
Yeah.
Which is
less than the Air.
It's less than the MacBook Air, and it's
because even though the batteries are specially shaped to fill all the space, there's probably still less
space to fill.
There's less space overall. Still,
I wonder if they mention how big the battery is. I bet they don't.
They don't.
It probably differs because they do like custom molded batteries from model.
Well, each one is
different.
Let me see.
So it differs a little bit. It's not just a battery.
It's a 39.7 watt hour battery.
Okay.
Oh, it says it.
And it's a 5 watt part.
Yeah.
So
that actually seems like a fairly big battery.
The screen is sucking up a lot of power because it's a Retina screen.
Yeah.
That seems like a large battery. to only get 9 hours of time.
I don't know. That doesn't make any sense.
That seems a little big, but anyway. So these are shipping what, April 10th?
Yeah.
We're gonna try to get one because I want to use it. I want to play around with it. I don't want to pay for it.
Hey, you know what? Maybe the battery power is determined upon the USB 3.1 Hitachi Magic Wand.
Right. If you always have to have one attached, so that you get the optimal experience while using your MacBook.
5 minutes.
Exactly.
But you can't charge it while you're doing that because there's only one port.
Paul, do you want one of these?
No.
It's 12. What if I wait? Hold on, wait. What if I tell you it's $1,299?
Even less.
Then even less so than that. Yeah.
So
what does the Dell 13-inch cost?
Well, so the Dell XPS 13 starts at $899, but it uses not a Core M. Wait, that's a negative. It has longer battery. Wait, it's not as thin. It's not as light. Like
okay, so the $899 one is 1080p, so that's not exactly equivalent.
That's true.
Sure. The other one starts at $1099.
Like this new MacBook is completely overpriced. Like
more so than we're used to, I guess.
The Airs aren't overpriced, really. They're competitive.
No, you're right. They're not anymore. They're not anymore. Yeah. I don't know. I wanted to make sure we talked about it. It's a damn sexy piece of hardware.
Am I correct here? This is the first MacBook, any of the Mac lines, where you cannot upgrade the SSD.
I don't.
It's soldered.
Yeah.
MacBook Air, you could.
Yep.
Yeah, they're socketed. They're
but you couldn't
sockets.
upgrade the memory.
Correct. No, you couldn't do the memory. But at least
also,
you
did you know
the
this was available in 3 colors?
Yeah.
Yeah, just
silver,
like the
gold,
phones.
and space
It's
gray.
the same iPhone.
Yeah.
So is the gold $19,000?
It's not real gold, as it
No.
Is it
and
actually gold plated?
That's $10,000.
That would be great. That would be great.
So
it's
No,
much cheaper
the watch
than the watch.
edition, the Apple Watch edition,
Yeah.
Edition.
is in between $10,000 and $19,000.
Yeah,
Depending
They
on
haven't
how you
decided
spec
it
it.
yet.
You know.
Hey, you know, everybody gets their own. So anyway, I just wanted to mention it because
that will be my computer in a couple of generations.
it's just interesting hardware.
I have no doubt.
and I think
If I stick with OS 10.
You mean when they update it and put some more ports on it?
No, when the processor gets faster and more devices have 3.1 or have Type-C connectors.
wait, Ken. There was an adapter that turned USB USB Type-C to a USB Type-C plus a USB A
And HDMI.
and an HDMI.
And HDMI.
Yeah.
And it was
$79.
$80.
There's also, since Google announced a new Chromebook Pixel today with
Yeah.
Type-C connectors, they have cheaper adapters that will probably work. So they have
Should.
like a $13 Type-C to Type-A connector, which
But
is at least more reasonable.
But here's the thing. I don't think you can do all of that communication like that while charging power into...
You can.
On the Apple one, you can.
On the Apple one, you can. I don't think on the aftermarket ones that's going to work.
Well,
Right.
the Chrome,
If they
the
build it to the
Chromebook,
spec, it will.
yeah, the Chrome says it's for power and video and data. Like they
Why
spec
don't you think
that
it works?
way.
That's in the USB Type-C.
For powering the connected device.
It's in the spec for both.
I think it goes both ways. If you know what I'm saying.
Like you can only inject power in the first device in the chain, I think, but after that, it's something weird.
Yeah. We'll find out.
Jeremy,
When Ken buys one.
Jeremy, back to our picks. What's your picks?
I don't know. I'm still mad at you for ruining that horribly apropos Trailer Park Boys reference, but now we've got you looking like Bubbles with your tongue stuck out in perpetuity, so I'm not so sad anymore. This is a bunch of German researchers from the university in Hanover, sorry, not Dusseldorf, I believe it is. They've figured out a way to print out LED displays. There's a link to a YouTube video on there that shows it much better, but you see that little watch?
I do.
They literally printed with an HP LaserJet a touch-sensitive, capacitive touchscreen on that. They can do it on bloody well anything. It works much better if you do silk screening with conductive ink, but you can literally print this stuff out on a LaserJet. And you can turn damn well anything into a touchscreen, which will give you notifications because you're printing out a circuit as well as the XY for the display. It's pretty damn amazing, and at like $20 for a print for the maximum one, this is ridiculously cheap and just a hell of a lot of fun. And I highly recommend that anyone with any interest in understanding how circuits work, you you want to teach your kids how circuits work, this is ridiculously rewarding because you touch it and it turns on, you touch it, it turns off, nice. But you design the entire template from scratch cool. And you print it out with Microsoft Word.
Yeah.
Or you do lithography and show
you
them
made
how to
lithography?
Lithography?
Or sorry, lithography. Silk screen brain fart.
Oh,
it's not
that's
lithography.
Funny.
It's silk screening.
That's not how you say that word.
Amazing.
Anyway.
I highly recommend you take a look at this, and it's going to be. This will be e-paper, because you can literally print out a circuit on a piece of paper, bend it, fold it any way you want it.
That's the way you want it. That's the way you need it.
Smack it up, flip it.
Who's next? Wait a minute.
That should be Josh.
Josh, what was your pick?
Go.
I can't remember anymore. It was something really. How would you feel?
Wait, how come? Hold on. How come Alan is ahead of Josh?
I don't know. I was in there.
Okay,
you're an a-hole. That's why.
Okay, all right. Okay, now I know which one is yours. Is it? Okay. Yep. Here we go.
Lots of USB ports.
Oh, if I connect one of these to my new MacBook, I'll have all of the ports.
There you go. Just glue it to the lid of the MacBook, and you're golden.
This was sent to me by a very kind individual. Let me see if
the
I can
link,
find
not the product.
Right? Is that a charger?
It can act as a charger. You need essentially a 750 watt power supply that'll provide enough amps to handle this.
No,
but it's.
They recommend a 60 watt charger.
What is the practical application of this device? I mean, just duplicating flash
Bitcoin
drives,
mining
that sort of thing?
ASICs.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, so if you were a Chinese conglomerate who was upvoting apps, this would be fantastic for them and all their cell phones.
There you go.
Yeah,
Bitcoin mining is the key thing here.
Yeah.
If you want to upload Stuxnet to all of the controlled processors on a factory, this is the thing to do.
Is this power only or is this data?
Power and data, because you can you could connect that to a computer or whatever.
So if you wanted to maybe like copy a bunch of data like to thumb drives all at once,
you'd need one hell of a script.
You'd need.
Yeah, you know what? Happily, excess is never enough.
How many ports?
49.
JMFR.
Wait, isn't 48 the max?
No, 26 is the max.
Well, they could have
in Windows
2 hub chips in there.
No, I mean drive letters.
Wait,
is that really still the case?
Yeah. They don't go AABB, CC? Oh.
It's still 26.
Lame.
How do? You have to be Linuxed.
Yeah. Well, you need to order one and test it out.
$175.
It's not their fault. They need to make more letters.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yep. If we just were Chinese, we'd have all kinds of characters.
Screw that. Excel goes much further than it used to.
Alan, what do you got?
I got this. Look at that awesomeness. Oh, there's too much light.
No, I can see it.
What is it?
Is that the gaming edition or the non-gaming edition?
This is...
It's the gaming edition.
It's the gaming edition. It's K70 RGB. This is the one that does not have all the extra macro keys on it. This is the...
Oh, so that makes it the non-gaming edition. Is that
is
right?
It?
No.
Paul?
It's...
I don't know. No. This is
Corsair. It's got the Corsair Gaming logo on it.
Yeah.
No, it's the Corsair Gaming logo. So this one here is a rare beast. This is that same
weird
keyboard,
right.
although it's not the Corsair game.
Huh? Do they actually sell that?
Oh no, I disconnected.
No,
yeah,
or something.
You're here.
You
lost your bandwidth, but it's coming back.
I like that, but I think it's back. Sorry about that, guys.
Yeah, you're right.
So you have a K70 RGB that's not a gaming edition?
Yes.
I mean, I don't even understand what the difference would be, like other than a sticker.
It's that logo.
Yeah, it's purely the logoing, but it's like they came out with the Corsair Gaming series and that logo right at the same time as all the RGB ones, but they made a small run without that logo as they were doing leading up to launch. But then they decided they wanted all them to be the Corsair Gaming logos. But
that's cool.
Just a random little piece.
So this thing has a piece of software you install that has all sort. Like Ken was playing around with this a couple weeks ago. You can script the heck out of it. Like,
it's complicated as hell.
There's like a different mode I just put this one into. I mean, there's a forum with people that are posting, like you can export and import whatever those changes are.
Right.
So you don't have to necessarily do it yourself, but like there's, like you can, make it so you
wavy.
hit a key and it ripples out and stuff like that. The possibilities are pretty much endless with this thing if you're willing.
I would say it's a 16.8 million is the possibility.
Per key.
Funny.
Per key, yeah. Damn it. How many keys are there? 104?
A little more.
There's more than 104.
So you can do all sorts of stuff. There's like macro stuff in the software. The software used to be kind of clunky, but like this recent version seems
it is available in
pretty good.
Wait, no.
Like there was an update.
Is the RGB only available in brown and red right now?
I think blue.
Keys.
I'm pretty sure you can get blues.
Yeah.
Okay, well not on this. Because if I click on blue here, it changes it to just K70
Just the blue.
mechanical.
That's just a bad Amazon listing.
Yeah.
I think it's red, brown, and blue for this particular one.
Okay.
Actually, I think it's red, brown, and blue for a lot of, like pretty much all of their keyboards, cherry switches. Yeah, but I mean, these things are unique. Like the thing I noticed right off the bat is that since the bases are transparent, like you see the lighting effect off the edge, like you can actually see it on the screen right there. Like you're looking at the like on a regular just single color backlit K70, you don't get that. Like the lighting just goes straight up.
Is that a positive or negative?
I don't know. I haven't really gauged that yet.
It's not really distracting. So
no, not really. If you're using
Ken uses one on our edit. Every video editing rig needs to have an RGB keyboard. I found
just like
you
rainbow.
Agree, Paul?
It just needs to be rainbow.
I have not tried that, but actually, that for shortcuts and everything, that would be extremely helpful.
Well, that's true.
I was gonna ask, have you actually looked at Corsair's PDF guide on how to program that keyboard yet?
No.
It's like a book.
Yeah, it's like 200 pages.
Well, that software needs it.
The software is not great.
It is.
To be perfectly honest.
I will say, right when that came out, my associate Kyle did a video on how to program it. It's like a 40-minute video, but he spent a lot of time and went really in depth. But that's on his YouTube channel, which is Awesome Sauce Network.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, I will watch that video.
So I'm curious to see what your thoughts are on it, because it is an expensive product. It's $170 for a keyboard. And if you'd asked me 5 years ago,
but wait,
if people were going to spend $170 on keyboards in the future, I'd go, you're insane. But if you'd asked me 10 years ago if people would spend $250 on a power supply, I'd say you're insane.
You say it's $170, but
I did. It is.
Just the single color ones are not that much cheaper.
Yeah, I'm not really saying RGB specifically. I'm just talking about the price of keyboards.
I mean, you could get like a MX Brown keyboard for around $100.
Yeah,
I still think if you had asked me
$80 cheaper, that's almost half the price.
If you had asked me a decade ago,
but like the backlit ones.
Well, if you don't care about that, if you don't look down at your keyboard,
my keyboard's not backlit because I know how to type. What?
I think a lot of people that are going to get those kind, like especially if they're like any kind of gamer, they probably want some kind of backlighting. So then you're already close to the price of this.
Just be better.
God, it's only 25 years ago. My mouse would only cost $99 from CompuAd. $99.
Now it's $30.
Can we get to our guest's pick?
Let's go.
Yeah,
Paul, what do you got?
Mine's pretty short. So I was actually going to go for the Titan X, and then I thought that would be a cop out because, like, obviously it's the Titan X. Yeah. So yeah, this is that's a Linus Tech Tips video that I linked you there, but this is a Clev Memory, which is actually an SK Hynix brand. So SK Hynix is one of the major memory module manufacturers. And they haven't had much of a actual presence in the retail space, but Clev is their new house brand that they're coming out with, kind of like Micron has Crucial, for example.
Okay.
The designs on the memory, I mean, I think a lot of us will agree that memory is memory when it comes down to it, but if you're looking at aesthetics, they actually have some pretty cool and unique heatsink designs that Luke was taking a look at.
Yeah, pretty.
Cool, Ooh.
Yeah, that is pretty.
Josh loves him some memory modules. Look how that one's tied down. Don't steal our memory.
That one could grate my Parmesan like nobody's business.
Yeah.
So they have a few different series of them, like kind of middle or like entry level, mid tier, and high level. A couple of them, the high level ones have LEDs integrated, and then they have DDR3 and DDR4 kits available. I like that kit right there.
Yeah, that's pretty nice. Yeah. I agree. Yeah, it's finally time for somebody to innovate.
The one impressed me.
The final one?
The final DDR3 one.
Is it at the very end? Where's it at?
He's looking.
Is it that last kit with the LEDs integrated?
I like that. That looks like it's a ton of image.
It's probably going to be a lot cheaper than the other ones.
Oh, those.
But
look
it's
at that.
still impressive.
That was pretty cool. They were edge lit in red. Yeah.
Some cool designs. If you're doing a Windows build or something like that, I think it's always nice to have different options.
I like that. That's neat.
That pattern's pretty cool.
That is a good pick. Yeah. Way to go. Way to best everybody else on the show with something that's actually
it wasn't even
interesting.
meaning to give credit to Luke. He's the one who spotted him and did a little video there.
Who made this GIF, Ken?
I don't know.
Oh, well,
I do, but I'm not telling.
Imager.
It's happened.
That's going to be my nightmare.
I think there needs to be another one, though, for if the person is listening who made the first one. There needs to be another one with him just staring and just blinking.
Like very still,
just
where like
real
the blink
still,
only happens like just, every 3 seconds or something like that.
With just the blink, right? That thing will appear on forums all over the freaking place.
That's true. It will be meme like of people.
That will be an
there's
instant
a
meme.
point at the end where you can loop the blinking, but damn you Americans for not getting a perfectly horrible Trailer Park Boys reference.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, sure.
No,
Yeah,
I
you've no
figured
idea.
it out. I did.
It's not me, just them.
Maybe I didn't.
All right. So that's going to be it for the show for this week, guys. Thank you, Paul, for joining us. Really loved having you on. It had some interesting insight, and I appreciate it because I'm usually stuck with these three guys.
Oh, thank you very much for having me on. I'm happy to come join you guys again at a future date, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, I do want to point out: is that an Aegea shirt you're wearing?
It is Physics by Aegea.
Okay. Yeah.
I did. This was not, and I didn't throw this on for the podcast. I threw this on earlier when I was like, I need a shirt, and then I was wearing it. I was like,
About
okay.
10 years ago
it was
or so.
It was about a month ago that my wife, basically at gunpoint, forced me to go through my closet and I threw away 3 full giant garbage bags full of T-shirts, and I believe there was not that one, but a different Aegea T-shirt that I had that kind of went to Goodwill in that clean out.
You were encroaching into her 7/8 of the closet.
Right. I was actually pretty sad about throwing away all those T-shirts that I literally.
Those are probably
never
their
wear.
best products, though, right? Were their T-shirts?
Yeah, they're definitely lasted the longest. Ooh, burn. So thanks everybody for joining us on the live stream again. If you want to hit us up next time, pcpro.com/live at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. And then pcpro.com/subscribe, where you can sign up for the mailing list. And pcpro.com/podcast is where you can find our RSS files, our MP3 files, our SoundCloud embeds, as well as our YouTube embeds as well. So we'll see you next time. Again, thanks for joining us, Paul. And I'm Ryan Shrout.
I'm Jeremy Hellstrom.
Josh Walbreath.
I'm Alan Mamatano.
See you guys.
Oh, you cut off the other guy.
Bye.